I used to think that I hated sales, but turns out what I actually hated was lying to people. Hey, my name is Zach here at Yaz, and yes, we're going to talk about sales. So buckle yourself in because this is a difficult topic for a lot of people. So before we get too far, I want you to forget everything you think you know about sales and salespeople. The reason is that most of us, even if we are in sales or have done sales, don't like sales or salespeople. There is a really bad reputation associated with sales in general because we all have heard stories of salespeople who are, sneaky, dishonest, people who lie to you just to get you to buy whatever it is that they're selling. So I need you to take that understanding and get rid of it. Yes, there are salespeople like that. This video, if you are one of them, is not for you, and you will understand fairly quickly why that is. I'm looking to target anyone who has something with their business that they want to sell that they believe in. So don't think that you're not a salesperson. Everyone is a salesperson. Everyone convinces people to do stuff. You tell your mom which store you like getting groceries at the most. You tell your friends about a movie that you enjoyed. Anything that you want someone to do or think or buy is you convincing them that that is a good thing for them, and that's where sales begins. So first, you've got to sell yourself. If you are anything like me, and I hope that you are, we all like people that are more like us. That's another sales trick, advice. Anyway, if you're anything like me, you don't like being dishonest. And if you have a problem selling currently, there's a very good chance that it's because you feel dishonest. So to give you a bit of a story myself, I worked after I graduated university for 2 years selling furniture at a local furniture. I guess it's not really local, it's a chain. I'm not going to name it, doesn't matter. When I started there and I was brand new, I could sell anything. I got excited that people were coming in, they wanted to buy couches, appliances, beds, TVs, all of that stuff I had no problem with. I also didn't have problem with things like warranty and add-ons because those are things that in the training they tell you are super valuable for customers. Fast forward about a year and I find that my numbers regarding add-ons and warranties have gone down a lot. The reason for this isn't because I got worse at selling, it's because I started to realize when customers came in to claim their warranty that it was a terrible process. They, in almost every case I can remember, they didn't get their money's worth out of it. They had to really pull teeth to get what they wanted, and it sucked. The more I saw that, the less I was convinced that selling warranty to people was not worth their time. So I had a really hard time getting excited about it, telling them what they would actually get out of it. Really what I ended up doing was rehearsing the script that my managers gave me as, here's why you want to sell this to people. The absolute worst that I had, that I can remember, they expected us to sell HDMI cables and stuff every time we sold a new TV. Now, if you know anything about electronics, HDMI cables, there are some variations in them, but for the most part, the HDMI cables that you have for one TV will work fine on another TV. There, of course, are exceptions. There's some really high-end stuff, that sort of thing. Every time I sold a new TV, what they told me was that I needed to tell customers you wouldn't put old tires, on a new car, so why would you put an old HDMI cable in a new TV? To them, this is the answer. This is what would make people buy HDMI cables. It didn't work. People aren't that stupid. Just because you try to compare it to something where I wouldn't put old tires on a new car, but that's safety and they won't fit. HDMI cables don't have those problems. So unlike that story, in order to succeed in sales, like at least I feel I am doing now here at Yaz, you need to, before anything else, completely sell yourself and believe in what you're selling. So we create websites and provide marketing for customers all over the place. Our customers are really happy with what we do. We have really good relationships with them after, and I don't feel like I have to push stuff on them that they don't want. We've tried some add-ons here and there. For example, our extended warranty program we ran for a little bit. in every case that somebody showed interest in it, we ended up talking them out of it because it would have cost them more to pay for warranty every month than it would to just get us to help them make those changes. And I tell this to clients all the time. So if you are in a place like I was when I was selling furniture, where you're expected to sell things you don't believe in, chances are you're not going to get any better unless you get better at lying. So if you came here to get really good sales tips, if you are not in a position where you can either sell yourself on the product, you're selling something that you believe in, or you can make some changes in your company, like if your bosses care about what you think. If that is not the case for you, you probably want to find somewhere else that will work. I can't tell you that you'll be a good sales fit everywhere. It really, really, really does come down to what you would sell your own family without guilt. Things that you know people need, if you can express to them why they need that. Sales is as easy as telling someone to watch a movie that you just saw that changed your life. Easy. There's a line in a book written by Grant Cardone. The book is called Sell or Be Sold. I think I've talked about it here before. This line really, really resonated with me, and it went something like, you have to believe in your product or service so much that you believe it would be a disservice for somebody not to buy with you today. So that's something that's really resonated and I've internalized a lot. When we are having sales meetings with new clients, it's no longer about sitting down and worrying, I don't know if these prices are going to be okay with them, because nobody likes making somebody else spend money. But when we would sit down, it's like, okay, let's think about this for a moment. Obviously, they're coming here because they want something done. There's a problem that they're trying to solve with their business. And even though what we are doing is going to cost them money, it's going to make them a lot more money in the long run. So we can sit down, believe that our solution is right for them. Of course, we want to make sure that we are a right fit and all that stuff. But I can now sell without having to worry about whether or not it's going to be the right thing for them, because we do the research to figure out that yes, it is. You want to make sure that you fully understand your target audience. And I mean this in two ways. First of all, understand your target audience as who with your general marketing you are targeting. If every customer you had was just like this one type of customer, your business would be the best it can be. That is your target audience. I mentioned this a lot on this channel and in these videos before. Don't let yourself believe that everyone is your target audience. You're going to end up putting out a bland, generic message that resonates with nobody. So that's one part of knowing your target audience. The other part is, when it comes down to individual sales, actually get to know each individual person you are meeting with, and not just get to know their lives, although building rapport is important as well, but meet with them first, or even discuss through email stuff. Find out what problems they have that your product or service solves. Understand what they've gone through to get to this point. The more you can get them to talk about what issues brought them to you, the more you can easily cater your proposal, or however you make business happen, to that individual. So when I write up a proposal, I want to put it together, an action plan based on the things that we discussed. We're going to do this way so that it helps your customers find something. It's, I can't rattle this off the top of my head, I guess, but I want to make sure that what we discussed in that meeting or over email is exactly what I'm telling them we're going to solve. I recently had a prospective client share some proposals that he got from some of my competition here in the city, and I was super shocked at how many of them had nothing to do with his business. They were just like your standard, they probably print the same 12-page document and send it to everybody. It's like, here, look what we can do. And I mean, maybe that works sometimes. I don't think they would be in business if it didn't work. But for somebody who is looking to get their problem solved, are they gonna look at the really long thing full of nothing information and be like, yep, this is a company for me? Or are they gonna look at the one that you made cater to them so specifically and be like, these people not only get me, but took the time to get me? And that's some relationship building on its own. Next, we're gonna get to know your pricing. So once you've figured out your brand, like we've talked about a little bit already, you need to figure out what it actually takes for you to perform your services, or what the cost is of your product. Obviously, mark stuff up so that you're not giving things away for free. No good customer wants to shop a business out of business. Nobody wants to make somebody else fail just so they can get a good deal. And if they do want that, that's not a good customer for you or anyone. They can shop online and figure it out themselves. So here's the kicker. People spend money. Businesses spend money. Don't forget that. It's very easy for businesses, and we used to have this problem where, again, when it comes down to sales, you don't want to talk numbers with people because it's such a very personal thing to discuss, even with business people. Once you start showing nervousness about your own prices, again, going back to whether or not you believe that your prices are right, it will start to show the person that you're talking to that you don't believe your prices are right. And so they'll be like, if they're nervous to tell me about this, what am I missing? Are they trying to highball me? Are they trying to make me pay a lot more than I should because they think I'm, gullible or something like that? Whether or not that is your intention at all, these are the types of things people start to think when your confidence wavers. So here at Yaz, in the last 2 years, as we've been figuring out our brand, what is our identity, and our pricing has gone up quite a bit from where we were, because we moved from a place where we were helping just tiny individual businesses into more of a niche of medium style businesses. Because we had the design and the talent to back it up, it was a slow, gradual improvement where we just started targeting larger and larger business, and we kept getting it because what we were explaining to them, again, we had sold ourselves on, and so it made sense to them that they were going to pay even more than my competition is quoting them, because of the relationships we're building with them, and because they can see the value that we were able to express them without having any sign of nervousness while we do so. Now, what's been interesting about that is you might think if you're charging people more, you're going to hear more complaints about money, and the opposite has actually happened. I find that the more we're charging for our luxury product, the less people are bringing up that the money is an issue. At this level, it's just no longer a thing that's discussed. They know we're the best, we know we're the best, we know we're the right fit, and they are willing to pay for the solution and the strategy that we are going to give them. We actually had I can never get this out of my memory because it was such a weird experience. We had a time before we really understood our own pricing where we ended up underquoting a fairly large client. So our proposal, even though it answered all of their needs and questions, and it was half the price of every single one of our competitors, they chose not to go with us because they felt that being that cheap, we were not going to have the room to play around the way that they would want to. So giving them a fair quote that was at that time strictly based on the time that it took our team to do it ended up losing us that deal. And we took that, and we have not underquoted since. One last story to solidify pricing to you. I believe it was 2 weeks ago, my team likes to take a team lunch on Fridays. We just go out to a restaurant. Of course, it's been a lot more difficult in the climate the last few months with COVID and everything like that. But we were at a restaurant local here. It has a great location. I had never been there. It's in the middle of downtown. I'm not going to tell you what it's called because I'm not really complaining, but anyway. It had a great atmosphere. I went in there and I felt like it was going to be a nice, fancy, good time. The food itself, actually, I'll talk about the food in a second. When we sat down and looked at the menus, we were seeing prices that were way cheaper than we expected to see, given the location, and even the name of it sounded a lot fancier than we saw. So when we saw this pricing, 2 different people on my team that actually sat down at the table at different times looked at it and they're like, why is this so cheap? What's wrong with it? Now, that sounds kind of crazy, right? Everybody should want the best product for the cheapest price. But when things don't seem to line up to us, there's a psychological phenomenon called cognitive dissonance, where things don't quite line up like you expect them to. And when that happens, you kind of like, you want to step away because something is weird. In this case, because the pricing was so much lower than we expected it to be, we were looking for something to be wrong with the food. Now that's a really bad thing to have your customers thinking about. When we got our food, I don't remember having any problem with it at all, but because I so distinctly remember feeling like something should be wrong with it, I'm not going to remember it being as good as it actually was. So in this case, as weird as it sounds, I believe this restaurant would do much better, and maybe it's different for like their dinner menu, maybe they charge more. I feel like they would do a lot better if they just charged more to match what the experience is, rather than lowballing, trying to get the cheapest customer, and having people that feel weird about it. The next section we're going to talk about is to get to know your objections. So first, I read a book by the same guy, Grant Cardone. This book is called The Closer's Survival Guide, and it includes in it a huge list of I think it's over 100 objections that he has come across in his sales career and answers to those objections. I highly recommend it. You can even, I found on Google, you can easily find spreadsheets. People have already made all of his lists. If you can't read the book or listen to the audiobook, look at those at least. As unique as you think your industry is, people are still going to be giving you objections about money. People are going to be giving you objections about how they like your competitors better, how they are not the person making the decision. The faster you can really familiarize yourself with all of these objections and prepare yourself for them to be brought up to you, the faster you're going to be able to reach a new level of confidence where you have prepared so much that when somebody brings up an objection like, why is this so expensive? Without you having the obvious look of fear in your eyes, you can continue looking at them as if this is something you've dealt with a million times, which if you're practicing, you have, and then you can just explain it to them. Now, there are 3 different types of objections. So the first type is that, there are real objections. There are going to be reasons that people either don't want to work with you or can't work with you. Those are all objections that when you get them, that's a really good sign, because that's actually them showing you that there is something in the way of doing business. The second type of objection I called a fake objection, which you'll usually get when you are when you put yourself in a position where people don't feel like they can tell you what their real objections are. So you'll get these ones a lot if you are really pushy with people. They'll tell you things like, it's just not quite the right time, I have to, talk to my boss, and those could also be real objections. But very often when they're giving you some reason that's out of control, that cannot be actually discussed in the moment, it's just because they want to get out of there. And the more you get those, you also want to realize that there's something that you should adjust so that people are not giving you fake objections. Or also included in the list of Grant Cardone's objections are some of those ones that you can ask follow-up questions to figure out what the real objections are. And the third type of objection, that is the complaints. So if somebody opens your proposal and they're like, wow, that's a lot of money, most of us in sales, our immediate reaction is to be like, oh yeah, sure, but the reason that it costs that much is blah, blah, blah. They didn't ask you to lower it. They didn't ask for they didn't even ask you to explain it. They were just like, that's a lot of money. And do you know what I say to that? I'm not going to take credit for this. Thanks to reading Grant Cardone's books, somebody's like, wow, that's a lot of money. And I'll be like, yes, we hear that from a lot of our clients. It's a reality. Yes, it's a lot of money, and you and our clients will spend that. So if they are not outright asking you to do something about price, or say, we can't sign this deal because of the price, just try it out as a complaint. Just agree with them and don't try to defend yourself. See what happens. Now, of course, you will have some unique objections in your industry that are not covered by Grant Cardone's list. I think we found 2 with our business that weren't already covered, and those ones are super easy. They're like, your competitor told us that WordPress is hackable. Grant Cardone doesn't know anything about that, but every time I'm just like, yes, like every CMS, it can be hackable if you don't keep it up to date, this and this and that. Easy solution. So you want to take all of your objections and all of the universal objections and put them into a list. And what are you going to do with the list? You are going to practice them. You're going to drill them. Now, you might think improv and acting, like those are kind of geeky. I think that would be silly. What's silly is making less money than you could be making. So get someone, in my case, it was my boss Mike and I, we would, over quarantine time, we would set up meetings once a week on video, go through this list, and ask each other questions that a customer might ask us, and the other person had to figure it out. The more you can do this, the faster these things will come to mind immediately. If you're sitting in a meeting with a client and they bring up an objection that you've heard before, but you're like, okay, I know I read the solution to this one, what was it? By the time you get to the end of that thought, it's already too late and they can see the panic in your eyes. You need to be able to bring forward all of these solutions that you know the very second they say it to you. So they're like, is there anything we can do about the price? And you just look at them and you're like, the reason that our price, again, that might just be a complaint, but you want to figure it out. And if you can answer questions without having to think or look nervous, you are going to get way ahead. So practice, don't do all of my steps and then not practice. If you stop at learning your objections, it's not good enough. One of the most important, if not the most important tool for selling and convincing people of things is confidence. 90% of us, I just made up that statistic, I don't know what it actually is, can't fake confidence. You might think you look confident, but the way that I just moved my eyes around the room, that sort of thing. Again, by the time you've done that, it's too late. You can feel my confidence in not being able to just sit here and be like, here are all the facts that I'm going to tell you today. So if you're walking into a meeting and before the meeting, you're nervous and you have that sinking feeling in your gut, like they're gonna have a problem with this, they're gonna have a problem with the pricing, I don't think they're gonna go for it. Way back to the start of this, if you don't think that they are going to go for it, you have convinced yourself that there is a reason that they shouldn't go for it. And if that is a thought in your mind, you need to go all the way back at the top, re-fall in love with your product or service, and go into this new meeting feeling like, yes, this is the right choice for them, and they are going to be leaving today either having made the choice or having the right amount of knowledge to be able to make that choice. Now, the awesome thing about confidence is that the more of it you have, the more of it you keep building. As you get used to these things that I'm talking about today and finding your own sales strengths, you will start winning, get confident, keep winning, stay confident, and it just builds and builds until you can get in front of a camera and yell things at people like I'm medium at it, we'll say. I'm not the best, but I will be. Now I want to run some honorable mentions by you. The last thing that I want to do is give you these tools and say, this is the full complete list of everything that you can ever do to make yourself good at sales, because there's a lot more going on in the background that has helped us help ourselves through this process. So I want to talk about things like our portfolio. When you go to our website, you can find that we have an awesome list of projects that we've done. It's super important for us because if we're meeting with clients, we tell them we have great design and they go to our website. If they see a bad portfolio or an empty portfolio, everything that we said to them is now like back to cognitive dissonance. It does not add up with their experience. So don't underestimate the power of the tools at your disposal. The next one is our physical branding. I read a book by Robert Cialdini called Persuasion that talks about how a lot of the decision made going into a meeting is actually made before the meeting starts based on everything that's around you. So we made sure to make our office look a little bit more modern. We put up some cool decals. We made sure that we had a nice boardroom table that took up a good amount of space. We looked successful. So going back to the story I told about the restaurant that we went to, they did the physical branding really, really well, but because it didn't line up with what I found, that was weird. The same is true on the opposite side, where in our last office it was very small and cramped and we didn't have a great opportunity to make it ours. People would come in and see like, oh, this is probably not a very successful business because they're in such a small, gross place. And obviously you can't just like go and buy a super expensive office or anything when you're getting started, but you want to really start thinking about how you can work toward having a space that matches your brand. Our industry knowledge is another one that I want to mention. People come in and they bring us their issues, and when we have worked on a website or a company similar to theirs, we can express to them, we already know this problem and how to solve it, and we've done it. Having that industry knowledge, we wouldn't be anywhere if we didn't have the ability to display that we are the experts. You know, again, you can't fake confidence because we know that we have the solutions and we believe in those solutions and we've seen them work for other people. It's easy for us to show that power and confidence. And finally, I want to believe that things like this video and the other articles that I've made help us out a lot too. I find that I send them out to clients when we send out proposals based on things that they talk about. If they bring up logos, I'll send them my logo blog. Maybe if they want to talk to me about improving sales, I'll send them this video. Again, it's all just stuff that ends up agreeing with what we are saying about ourselves. To wrap everything up, by now, you should be terrified. When I started this journey, I was too. Now, given the way people look for information, there's a really good chance that you've been Googling around for sales secrets. What thing can I say that makes people buy from me more? You want to also learn a little bit of those tricks, but please don't just ignore all of these steps in hopes that you can find something easier. Improving yourself is never easy, but you don't have to do it all at the same time. Take slow steps, keep working on improving these things, get to know yourselves, your clients, all of that sort of thing, and just go for it. Now, if you got here and you're scared because you realize very quickly that you don't believe in your products, either change things, find somewhere else, don't do sales, or work on your lying, because those are the only ways I know how to be good at sales in that perspective, I guess. So here we go one last time. Sell yourself, sell your brand, figure out your pricing, build your confidence. I don't know what I'm doing with my hands here. And go make some money. Do it now. I guess I should also film some sort of ending to this. That's all for today. I should have ended on that big bang, but what can you do? If you have any questions about this or want to talk sales with me, reach out to me. You know where to find me at the Yastech, yastech.ca. You can get to it from our YouTube channel, wherever it is that you're watching this, and we can absolutely set up a meeting and go over some stuff. If you want me to talk about any specific part of this in more detail, or any different sales thing you've come across, or you've come across a different sales thing that you want me to learn because you think it'd be valuable, I'd be up for that as well. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe if you can. I really appreciate that, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye.